YouTube, how you doing? Raj here. I hope you're well. Today I am back with an updated fragrance collection video. The last time I did this video was going well over 2 years ago, and I will leave the link down below in the description box. And my collection has changed a lot. You know, nowadays I'm all about quality over quantity. I've never considered myself a collector, but I did used to have a large collection of around 120 bottles at my at my craziest stage, if you want to call it that. And I came to the realization that owning that many, for me, is just a waste of time, a waste of money. I wasn't using all of the bottles. Obviously, you can't use all of them all the time. And I wanted to go down the path of owning what I thought was the best of the best, or at least very, very good fragrances being added to my collection most of the time. And I think that's what I've pretty much achieved here. I've never set myself a limit, but then I decided to and set myself a limit of 20 bottles. I just kept that kind of number just developed or whatever, evolved or whatever you want to call it, and it allows me to be excessive in the sense that the average person on the street is not going to have this many bottles, but not go and buy it on a crazy scale, and it allows me to wear these fragrances regularly in different occasions, different scenarios, seasons. And I definitely feel like I've achieved that. Before I go into describing or talking or showing you the fragrances in front of you now, um, also, there are many houses in here where I used to own many from the brand. Creed, Serge Lutens, Acqua di Parma are three that are just coming to my head now. And just because they're not in this collection here doesn't mean that they won't be in the future, because I like the idea of just trying something new, going on to a different brand, different types of fragrances. So I can't add and add and add because I've set myself this limit. So you know what? I've got plenty of time on my hands to explore fragrances, and I'm just enjoying doing that. So there are some new additions in here since the last acquisitions video, haul video I did, and I'll mention them as I go along. So the order which they're in is that the ones in the front, apart from, well, yeah, these guys over here are where I own only one from a brand or a house, and the ones here and towards the back are where I own several from the brand. So let's just get straight into it. First one on my list, first one in the collection here, which I'm showing, Midnight in Paris from Van Cleef and Arpels. A very affordable fragrance, actually, or very sort of accessible because it's discounted so heavily. I've been hearing that it's been discontinued. I'm not 100% sure about that, but a lovely leather note in here. There's like almonds and tonka and benzoin and a bit of incense. Challenging, but I think that not to the point where it's anything too crazy. It just sits nicely on the skin. Kind of feel like it's an autumn, a cooler weather style fragrance. Next here, probably one of the best gourmand fragrances I own, and this is 1270 from Fropan. Obviously people talk about it not lasting as long as they'd like, and yeah, I get decent longevity out of it, but it makes up for it in many ways in the scent. It's so kind of like a delicious scent, really. It's like you've got vanilla and rum and raisins and ice cream, and there's a lot. It's not a kind of childish scent. It's very addictive, actually. A really great fragrance. Next, from the house of Roger Parfum, and this one is Enigma Pour Homme. This is the EDP version, not the Parfum version, which is more expensive and a higher concentration. I love the opening of this fragrance. The opening, I think, is the best. There's this kind of boozy accord in there. There's a woodiness. There's spices which are very light but noticeable. Cloves, and I get like a spiced orange in there as well. Really excellent, and I've been wearing it a lot recently. It's turning into almost my signature scent for work. Another fragrance I wear to work, is from the house of Parfum MDCI, and this one is Chypre Palatin. Chypre Palatin. Coming to the end of this bottle, and I actually did buy it partially used, and I'm not 100% sure if I'll buy it again. It's one of those where it could be replaced by something else and then make its way back into the collection, but really interesting. Very, very dry fragrance, no sweetness, no florals. A very interesting creation by Bertrand Duchaufour, I believe, is the creator. I have to double check, but very, very, it's quite a unique fragrance, actually, in my collection, or well, actually just quite unique just in general. Next, from the house of Xerjov, and this one is 1861. 1861. Oh, by the way, I probably should mention which of these I have reviewed. I've reviewed 1270. I have reviewed 1861, and for me, it's one of the best fresh fragrances out there. I use it a lot in the summer, in the spring, but also, you know, it's good to switch things up in colder weather, and it definitely works and lasts well. There's mint in there, there's lemon, there's some green vibes in there, a white muscatcord, a little bit of florals coming from, I think, a lily of the valley note. Very uplifting and just feels really great on the skin in warmer weather. Moving on here to Herod. Herod from the house of Parfum de Marly. Again, you know, another one which I've been wearing to work and also in the colder weather. A lot of honey in there, some tobacco, which is more of a sweeter, dry, almost hay-like tobacco. I like it a lot actually. It's a very addictive fragrance, and yeah, I've just been enjoying it a lot recently. Next, a fragrance that I have reviewed and probably mentioned quite a few times on my channel, and this is from the house of Clyde Christian. This is C for Men. You know, I've said in the past that this is my favorite fragrance of all time. Is that the case now? You know what? I'm not 100% sure. I'm not 100% sure it is my favorite fragrance, but it's up there. Let's just say that there is a lot going on in this fragrance. It's not an everyday scent that you would wear. There is oud, there is kind of incense, there's leather, there are some kind of floral notes in there which are, you know, don't always shine through, but I get different things whenever I wear this fragrance. It's interesting, that's for sure. Very expensive. I generally don't know if I would buy it again because of the cost, but I probably will, to be honest, because it is one of my favorites. I've got another fragrance here that I have reviewed, and this is from the house of Penhaligon's, and this is Castile. Oh, by the way, there are actually a couple of fragrances in it, not here, because I have passed them on to my dad, actually, and another one from Penhaligon's is Bayolia, which I recently got for free, actually, but I decided to pass that on to my dad. But this one I sold, and then I rebought it, because I really think it's great for summer. There's a lot of neroli in here, there's a white musk, some florals, and it's just a very simple, very clean fragrance. People often use the word clean, and that's exactly what I would use to describe Castile. Next one, which I have reviewed along with Black Orchid. I did a double review, and this one is Oud Wood. Now this is the new version, and this is actually the latest addition to my collection. Oud Wood. Is there a difference between the older version and this, which used to be in this packaging? Slightly, but only I think a person who's like an expert or an enthusiast will pick up on any sort of differences. I feel it's a little bit smokier in the opening and lasts a little bit longer on me. I think it's fantastic. I definitely get good feedback whenever I wear this fragrance. That's one thing I've noticed. And another fragrance that I get pretty good feedback on is again from the house of Tom Ford, a fragrance I haven't reviewed yet, but definitely plan on doing so. This is Tobacco Vanille. Tobacco Vanille, actually a very, on the surface it might seem like a very simple fragrance. You've got this sweet tobacco in there, very sort of powerful, but underneath that kind of that kind of loud opening, there are a lot of spices in there. There's kind of like a woody effect that comes out on your skin now and again, but not always. But I used to think it was quite a simple fragrance, but no, there's a little bit more going on in there. It's a very high impact fragrance, and you know what? I was looking at my my collection video again, which I have got the link in the description box, and this fragrance and another one also are the only bottles which are currently in this collection right now. And I think that says a lot about it, the fact that, you know, it is just one of my all-time favorites, basically. The final fragrance that I own from the house of Tom Ford, and this one is Cafe Rose. Cafe Rose, a trilogy of roses used in this fragrance. Really good, really, really excellent fragrance. I like it a lot. A kind of burnt coffee accord, but to call it cafe, I'm not really sure. It should be called incense rose, to be honest. But there's a black pepper note in there as well. And it's not a fragrance that jumps off my skin, and I don't think I want this type of fragrance to jump off my skin. I don't know why I say that. I just don't think it's something like that I would like to be projecting all over the place, but it's a very kind of sensual fragrance, a nighttime fragrance, and all of these Tom Fords really are more evening wear, I feel. I don't have Black Orchid anymore. I used to have that. That actually is my favorite Tom Ford fragrance. I just find it a little bit too powerful and a little bit too powerful to control in terms of the number of sprays, but you know, sometimes that happens. Just because something is your favorite doesn't mean that you're going to be wearing it all the time. Next, we're going on to Dior. So I think it's fair to say that Tom Ford, Dior, and Guerlain, which I'll mention later, are definitely my favorite houses. Up there, probably in the top 5, let's say. And Dior, a fragrance here which I have reviewed. This is Dior Homme Sport. Perfect in spring weather, perfect in warm weather. Very stripped back fragrance, very simple. It does the job. A little bit of ginger in there, an iris note which comes through, cedar, and just a very well executed fragrance. I think very, very fresh. I think it would be very appealing to the mainstream crowd. And I don't mean that in like a condescending way, but what I mean by the mainstream crowd are people who are not enthusiasts, who aren't going to own all these bottles. And if you are somebody like that, who only wants to own, just a handful of bottles, maybe 5 maximum, say, I definitely think Dior Homme Sport should be in your rotation. Next up here, which is one of my most recent buys, and this is, I don't know if you can see at the bottom, but it says Parfum, and this is Dior Homme Parfum. There is actually a lot going on in this fragrance that I've come to realize recently, and it stands out. It stands out in the sense that, look, I've got Dior Homme Intense, I've got Dior Homme, and you can own both. You might think that they're too similar, and sometimes it feels like there is the DNA of Dior Homme Intense in this, but it's almost its own fragrance. If it wasn't called Dior Homme, you could kind of accept that. But anyway, it is a type of a flanker in the Homme series, and there's a beautiful leather note in here as well. I'm still actually getting to grips with what exactly is going on in this fragrance, and it might take me a bit of time, but I love it. I really love it. It's a great release into the Homme series. I'm tempted to get the original Dior Homme. It just somehow doesn't quite work on my skin in the dry down. It turns into something a little bit ordinary. I don't know, maybe I need to go back to it, but if I'm going to add another Dior, it probably could be Dior Homme, or I want to explore the Privé collection a little bit more. I don't know why I haven't really explored it as much as other people have, and they rave about it. I have tried a few. Yeah, definitely need to explore that side of Dior actually. Okay, so we're coming on to the final house here, Guerlain. I love Guerlain. I really, really love the house. They do a lot of gourmand and sweet fragrances really well, which I'll touch on a little bit more. There's so much to explore in this house, and every time I do find a fragrance, I rarely dislike it. That's what I find so interesting about the Guerlain fragrance. Every time I sample something, or I buy it, or I'm in a shop and I'm just trying it on, it always kind of evokes some sort of reaction, and it's always something like, oh wow, that's interesting, what is going on here? They're very well done fragrances. For me, this is actually one of the best fragrances I've ever tried, and the camera might not pick this up, but it's called the Mon Précieux Nectar. I mean, the bottle on its own is just amazing. I really love this design, and yeah, it comes with this bulb. It doesn't come with a normal sprayer, which I actually prefer. I'm not a fan of these bulbs. I don't feel like I get a great application from them. it kind of puts out a very fine mist, but you know what? It's not a big deal at the end of the day. There is just actually, it's very, very intoxicating. It's light, but has a good staying power. Nothing great. Don't expect 12 hours from this, but yeah, almonds in here. There is a vanilla note in here. There's like a benzoin. You know, notes that you could say about, you know, a lot of all of Guerlain fragrances. Of course, they have their DNA, the Guerlainade, running through I think all the fragrances actually. And yeah, definitely worth getting your nose on that. My latest, actually, I bought Oud Wood and this next one here pretty much at the same time. Now, looking at the bottle, a lot of you guys might think this is L'Instant de Guerlain, the EDT version or the original, but actually it's not. So I didn't realize this until recently, but let me show you something. Again, I don't know if the camera is really going to pick it up at the bottom there. Well, you're just going to have to take my word, but it says Eau de Parfum right at the bottom. So basically, this is L'Instant de Guerlain Pour Homme Eau Extrême. The only thing is, it doesn't have this black border that usually or used to come around the edge, and now it says Eau de Parfum at the bottom of the bottle. So when I got this, I thought, hang on, they've sent me the wrong thing here. But no, it smells exactly the same. I think the bottle design has just changed. I can't detect any differences in terms of scent, and honestly, I don't think there are any differences. I don't really know why they've gone back to this design, because the Eau Extreme version, which is a Eau de Parfum, which is this one, actually looked really great with that black border, but it's a great scent, quite powerful actually. I didn't realize how powerful this fragrance was, but there's a beautiful cocoa note. Cocoa, chocolate, you know, is one of my favorite notes in fragrances, and that also is found in this one. And this one is Gourmand Coquin from the Elixir Chanel series. This is beautiful. I think, actually, yeah, no, I know that Rene, the fellow reviewer, Mr. Zayas, he has bought this in one of his latest hauls. I had a look on Facebook the other day and noticed he bought this. I can see why he would buy it actually, because he likes his sweet fragrances, and this is cocoa, powdery in some ways, maybe coming from maybe a rose in there. I haven't checked the notes, but I think there might be a rose note in there. There's also a kind of smokiness, not an incense type smokiness, but I don't know where that is coming from. Maybe benzoin, I'm not 100% sure. But it's not really just a gourmand on its own. There are a few other notes in there, making it almost, it's basically like an oriental style fragrance. It's really excellent. I'm really glad to have that in my collection. And guys, going on to the final bottle in this collection video. This one is called Tonka Imperial. Tonka Imperial, you know, honestly, I love this fragrance. I love everything about it. I don't actually have anything bad to say about it, and I can't really pick up on any sort of criticisms or anything. Not that I look for those things to say, but I just can't. You know, there is a beautiful tonka note in there. There is a beautiful smokiness in there actually, which I really like, which I only have really kind of experienced that as I have worn the fragrance a little bit more. I tried it a few times on paper and a couple of times on skin, but I didn't realize actually how the smokiness comes through in your skin later on. One thing about Guerlain also is it's great talking to the sales assistants wherever you go. In London, I've always experienced really good service from them, and often a lot of them talk about layering, and they say, you know, layering one of these with one other fragrance, and they often tend to come up with some pretty interesting combos. I was recently in Harrods, and a guy was telling me about layering. I think it's one from their kind of Middle Eastern collection, the Rose one. Rose Nacre de Désert, I think he was saying, with either Tonka Imperial or Spiritueuse Double Vanille. But yeah, there's a lot of experimenting you can do if you're into that, and I might have to try that one day. So, guys, there you go. That is my collection. I'm really happy with where I'm at. I don't have anything on my to buy list. Well, I do actually. I have Spiritus Dublavini and Xerjoff's Richwood on my collection, but I'm not convinced that they're worth it. So if a deal pops up, you never know. That could take me to my 20 bottle limit. Oh, I forgot to mention also that Italian Cypress. I've actually passed that on to my dad along with Bayolia from Penhaligon's. So, well, to be honest, they're just his now. I'm not going to ask for them back, but there you go. So yeah, guys, what do you think about this collection? Is there anything in here that you have, or you have tried, or you like, or you want to buy? Is there anything in here which should be here? You know, there are some big name fragrances or some houses that are just not represented in this collection, you know, but that doesn't mean that I don't like them. They may make their way into my collection again. You know, I'd love to own Aventus if I can find a batch that actually lasts on me. From Creed, I wouldn't mind owning maybe a couple from Serge Luton, maybe something which I haven't tried before. What else? Aqua de Parma, I've already mentioned these brands, but you know what? I've got so much time on my hands, and I'm not constantly thinking about what's next to buy, because I'm just loving what's in front of me now. I had a list of fragrances I wanted to add to make what I feel was near to perfect collection, which is what's in front of you now, and I got all of those. So yeah, I'm not really thinking about buying at the moment, but you never know. You never know. I'm a fragrance enthusiast at the end of the day. Guys, take care. Thanks for watching. Check out my Facebook page. The link is down below or in the description box. And I really appreciate your support. Take care. Bye.